Thank you so much for being with us this week. My name is Debbie Perez Cockburn. I'm happy to be the moderator of our weekly discussion called Soul Changes Lives. It's a webinar that we like to put out every week in our group. We ask you all to watch it and share the information that you learn if it is of benefit to you. And as a way of reminder, I'd like to let everyone know that none of the panelists that are speaking on our webinar are ever offering medical advice. We are not doctors. We don't pretend to be doctors. We don't treat disease or infirmities. We offer our opinions about natural health and the use of Soul Natural products, which is an adaptogenic based line of products, which I love. And so we are having our weekly webinar, which usually consists of 3 parts. The last couple of weeks, it's only been 2. As you can tell, again, I apologize for the boxes behind me. We are packing and building our dream home this year. So it's something that we're excited and looking forward to. But this week, we are going back to our regular schedule of having 3 sections. Our first section is Soul Changes Lives, where we usually have a testimonial shared by someone who has information about a product and how it has impacted their life or the life of someone that they know. And then we have our section, our product section, which is the part that I love the most because we get to listen to my good friend, and he is the CEO and one of the founders of Soul Naturals products. We get inside of Greg's mind, Greg Halliday, and know why some of our products are designed the way they are and how they can help us better. And then our third section I like to call How Bright Does Your Soul Shine? It's a play on words. Most of you know I am Hispanic. I'm from Puerto Rico. Soul is the name of our company, but soul in Spanish is sun. And so I feel like when we use Soul Natural products, we just shine a little brighter. So that's why that section has that name. Okay, so having said all of that, let me just introduce this week's topic and speakers. This week, we are going to have a testimonial about our Soul Flex AC cream with Chris Hedrick. And I'm so happy to have her on because she's usually on every week, but we don't get to see her live. So I'm happy to have her here live with us today. And then our second section, which will be covered by Greg. I've asked Greg to talk about one of our foundational drinks at Soul Naturals. This is the 100 count bag that I'm holding today, is our drink called CinnaMate. And Greg is going to be telling us a little bit more about why CinnaMate is such an important part to the 4-month to improving our health and why it's part of package number 3. Package number 3 is called Primary Balance, and our body is always looking for homeostasis. And so he will give us some more insight as to how this product can help us achieve homeostasis in our bodies. And then our third section, I will be addressing healing crisis and how to recognize healing crisis in your personal life. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our discussion. Chris, I'm going to ask you to turn on your microphone, please, and it's your time to shine.
I actually, dear, it was another person that had mentioned the AC cream. My testimony is actually on the XL product. When I started with Soul and XL came out, I had with my youngest son the mask of pregnancy, horrible. And I mean, I'm a dark complected natural person anyway. And then you go out in the sun, and the mask of pregnancy was very, very prominent on my cheeks, around my mouth, and around my face. And I really wish I would have taken monthly pictures, because as I took and just drank the Soul XL when it came out daily for the 21 days, as I did it, I literally watched the mask unpeel and run off my face. It was miraculous, and it was I thought that because that was 9 years ago. So how old is he? I don't know. He was like 12 years old. I thought I was going to have this dark, and I had to buy special makeup to blend my face. It was horrible. But between taking the Vital and the CinnaMate that Soul come out with, and then when XL came out, that was like the game changer. And it literally just melted off my face. And within 60 to 90 days, it was gone. And that just shows you how much my balance, my system was off, and how internally, when you start healing from the inside out, how everything then on the outside just starts to fall back into place the way it's supposed to. So that's my love story for Soul Excel.
I love it, Chris, and I apologize for not remembering it was on Excel. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I was extremely impacted by two things that you said in particular, how long it took you. So it wasn't very long. It was just a matter of 2 months. But you also mentioned part of our topic today, which when we think about it, you know, after you give birth, your hormones are just everywhere and your body is looking for balance. And sometimes it shows up in different ways, right? And for some people, the healing is quick. And for others, it takes a little longer. For you, it was so quick, my dear. How wonderful that you were able to add that, which leads me to my next section and our next guest, because you mentioned 3 of our foundational drinks, and now we have all 4 in that program. And so I have asked our friend and I think he's a mentor to all of us. He certainly has been in my life a mentor most of my adult life. I have known Greg since I was about 32 years old. I am almost 62, so I've known Greg almost 30 years. So half of my adult life. And I love to listen to the insight that he has. Most of you who are new and don't know, Greg actually started this company. We both knew each other when we worked at another company. And so this idea of having a line of products which are adaptogenic, which can do much more with less quantity and less supplements is really quite new and revolutionary and completely innovative, cutting edge, I would say. We can talk about avant later and how we use that play on words in one of our products. But I asked Greg to talk about the CinnaMate product. For me, CinnaMate really helps keep me on an even keel, even more than the adaptable or the vital does. And you'll see why, because when Greg starts talking about how CinnaMate and the ingredients in CinnaMate, mainly the 3 sources of cinnamon that are used, the aromatic oils that they contain. And then you look at yerba mate, which is such a nutritive supplement and an adaptogenic herb also. You can see how it plays not only in balancing what you immediately think of when you think of cinnamon, right, which is blood sugar issues, but how this product in particular can bring balance to the circulatory system, to the central nervous system, to the glandular system, which are essential, and help digestion and help aid in brain focus. And so I'm going to turn the time over to Greg to share his ideas on why this product came about and how it can help us better. Thanks, Greg, for being with us.
Thank you, Debbie. And good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you. Great to spend a little time together. I just want you to know that I've known Debbie. She said she's known me for half of her adult life, and I've known her for all of my adult life, which started about 5 years ago. So I think I've one-upped you, Deb. Actually, if you ask my wife, she might still be waiting for that adult life to start for me, but sometimes. Other times, no. Okay, so I've got some slides that I'm excited to share with you. And some of them are kind of I know they're a little bit of a reminder, a review. But every time I go through them, it just brings to mind things people have shared and all the reasons why CinnaMate needs to be part of our daily, just our daily nutrition program, no matter what we're working on, our core nutrition program. That's why I love it, that it's part of the 4-month program, because I hope it can start a habit in everyone. And then the amount we take, per day might change, or if it's a daily, if it stays as a daily for you, or if it's just a frequent thing, that's going to be personal, but it should stay a part of everyone's nutrition program forever. And I hope I can show why. Mainly it's because of our access to nutrition and the type of world we live in now. there are lots of great blessings, I believe, in the way the world is, but challenges that haven't been there before. And they do tax us and they cause problems that a lot of them we haven't yet figured out, but we're figuring out so very many of them by just sticking with basic principles of natural healing. So CinnaMate, it's red label. Yeah, I put my red shirt on, Deb. I didn't know you were thinking, look, and Chris is pretty much there too. That's awesome. But its main goal was to lift people up, lift ourselves up mentally, emotionally, physically. And it has mechanisms to do this that are tried and proven over many, many years, really over millennia. And hopefully I can share some of that. When people talk about why they like CinnaMate, it's a very, very popular product. They'll give 100 different labels to what CinnaMate is to them. We were sharing this yesterday. Like some, it's their smile in a box, it's their hug in a mug, it's what stops the war in my head, someone said. It enabled a young boy who had been adopted from a war zone in the other part of the world to open up and finally express emotion, which he had buried out of necessity. I mean, I just, all of these stories run through my mind over these last, like Chris said, these last 9 years. And they just keep mounting up in such a good way what it's doing for people. And I bring all that up because I think the reason is more and more as I study CinnaMate, there are two things that stand out. One is that last point on the slide, vitamins, minerals, amino acid. It is chock full. It's well over 200 different kinds, well over 200. So sometimes people ask me, do you take a multivitamin too? And multivitamins, you can find different kinds pressed into a tablet. The body's going to absorb a certain amount and it can't absorb some other amount. Vitamins held in plants, I've always believed, sourced and left in that form, our body can more easily absorb them and do much more with a lesser amount, actually. We kind of tend to load up the tablets and other things to super high amounts. And I kind of believe that's because we don't digest it as well as we could, and we need more to get enough. But plants also have a variety of things that we just can't pick and choose out and build our own and match that. I just haven't seen that in the last 30 years. So one reason that CinnaMate makes such a difference is it's super, super dense nutrition and very varied in the number of components. And so it touches so many needs. And I think the second thing is because it deals really effectively with the way our body manages blood sugar and that energy to our cells. And I think that a lot of the labels that people give for their CinnaMate, what it does for them, you trace them back and you can trace back a very strong link to how efficient and how balanced is the process of just getting food to the cells and not overwhelming the body and causing problems and not starving the cells. And that's why I think CinnaMate is such a game changer. And that's why we call it, very, very core. It's one of the primary signature drinks. It's in this 4-month program in the very, very first month, because it's kind of like, I look at it now, you start here. Soul Vital, I'd throw that in there too. You start there and you start here, and then you go to work. And like Chris said, then you can look at things. Renew has its way of same thing. It's going to address things that aren't addressed otherwise, and Excel, same thing. But I think that CinnaMate, were it absent, we would be lacking. We wouldn't have a very important tool. So why is it so good? I just think we made a great decision to base so much of it around yerba mate, which is super studied in Europe, has been used for millennia in South America. And it's just, isn't it amazing to anybody else that it is so unheard of here still? I mean, if you go in around circles of people who are really into natural health, probably they've heard of it. But out in general on the street, it's just not known, and it astounds me. You can look in the British Pharmacopoeia, fatigue, weight loss, headaches. In Ayurveda, in India, where what? A fifth of the world's population lives, psychogenic headaches, nervous depression, fatigue, rheumatic pains. Yesterday we were listening to a testimonial, someone who had rheumatoid arthritis. And they started to see big change. You know, it's not that everything was fixed, but they saw big changes and progress right off the bat. And here we go. This is one thing that's been known for a long, long time in this tree. Yerba mate is a medium-sized tree from the holly family that grows in South America, but it can be grown in other places. It's just the variety that we source is the Paraguayan variety. It's the one that's had the most studies around it, and has been I say farmed, but you know what I mean. Planted. There are programs to not that it needs a lot of help in South America, but to plant and expand these trees. So yeah, it's actually, believe it or not, a higher profile antioxidant even than green tea, but green tea has a lot more fame, I think, and it is more nutritious. This is an example: 24 vitamins and minerals, quercetin's in there, pantothenic acid's in there, 15 different amino acids, and a lot, over 100. They've actually discovered a few more in recent years. And so some of them they're well-known compounds, but their variety is unique to mate. So that's why sometimes you can be, I'm a big fan of plant source, because you can't just say, oh, I took quercetin, because quercetin in mate is a little different than quercetin, say, in Japanese pagoda tree, where we get the quercetin for Excel. They have a different profile, and they bring different things to our health. So the Pasteur Institute in France said many years ago, you can search the world over and be hard pressed to find any plant more nutritious than yerba mate, which is a pretty astounding comment. Given how it's actually very famous in South America, but I mean, given how unknown it is up here and in other parts of the world. Oh, I already quoted that. Look at that. Here's the quote. It was 1964. 1964. Oh, I sit there and think of what a blessing it's been for people now. I wish it could have been known much earlier up here. So it has these two, Dr. Allison did this whole study on it because it has caffeine, and some people can say, oh, I can't take caffeine, but it's so different, the caffeine in mate, that the scientists who studied it called it matine. And there was a big argument over whether it was caffeine or matine, and it doesn't really matter. But because here's the interesting thing. It is different. It doesn't produce any addiction or jitteriness or spike effect. It just brings sustained energy. That acts differently than plants with traditional caffeine. Secondly, xanthines, Dr. Allison taught us, there are several kinds. And she mentioned theobromine. What was the third one? Theophylline, maybe, if I'm saying it right. Did I say it right? And they all work on energy different, and they all affect the heart differently. And that is the other brilliance of yerba mate. It has all three. A lot of plants have one. Chocolate has one. This one has all three. So it's a wonderful, naturally stimulating, not spike stimulating, naturally elevating. And that's why we call it lifting. There's a difference, to me. It can be kind of, what's the word? Taken advantage of, where people can extract the caffeine out, pull it out of the rest of its components. Science has the ability to do that now, and then they tell you it's yerba mate, caffeine from yerba mate. Well, it's not. If it doesn't have the whole complement, of course, it's like any other substance taken from a plant. I don't say that it isn't beneficial, but it loses its balance. And I think it loses some of its absorbability, some of its usefulness to the body. That's my own opinion. So now they've studied it, and look at this, antiviral. Well, what it does is it keeps it from spreading from cell to cell, or it inhibits it. It doesn't keep it entirely, but it slows it down. It slows the spread down. And so I think we shared this years ago, the food industry, so much pre-processed food and packaging, et cetera. They were actually studying it to use as a preservative because microbials don't grow, not just virus. You know what? Fine, but it's much better to eat it and use it for all of its benefits. in its full amount. So this is a study right here, and I'll make the point that I wanted to share about this. In a magazine called Bone, postmenopausal women had higher density of calcium, minerals in their bones when they drank mate every day. Super simple study. And they're just sipping the tea. So what does CinnaMate have different? Well, I'll tell you, it's an extract. It's not a tea where you take the leaves, which is very common, and some of the stems of the tree, and then you just pour hot water on it, and as much as you can extract off, you're going to get. We're actually dissolving the extracted powder and drinking all of it. And so that's why you get this certain number of nutrients that you're just not going to get if you drink the tea. And people will go, wow, I've drunk mate before, but now I notice this. Well, that's the reason. So here's a study that talked about what it does for blood. So yes, not as well known with mate is the fact that it is, in my view, a blood normalizer. So the way fats exist in the blood, and actually sugar levels in the blood, and overall heart health. CinnaMate, specifically yerba mate in it, is a great help to that. So adding to this wonderful powerhouse mate, which is the largest quantity ingredient, we added good amounts of 4 other ingredients that are really superstars in managing this central process of how our body absorbs and delivers energy to the cells and sugars, how foods are broken down, and the whole process of resistance that we talk about now. Debbie can explain that better than I can, that develops, and insulin resistance is more and more and more common. And the problems are many, the complications can be many if this process gets out of whack, and it pretty much always does now because of our lifestyle and our food, because stress affects it too. So that's why so many different items in there that all work in slightly different ways, and they strengthen it and bolster how our body manages sugar. So many stories of people that have already gone well down the road to having sugar imbalances. Some of them are taking medications, some of them taking insulin, and they'll tell you when they add this in their diet, they see it start to regulate. They'll talk with their doctors. From what I've listened to over these last few years and these testimonials, I'm surprised at how many people will talk with their doctors and how many doctors are quite supportive of them, improving the diet and being able to manage and decrease the amount of medications. That's pretty common. They just want to see the blood sugar normalized, and as it normalizes, they say, great, keep doing what you're doing. Well, CinnaMate is a great thing to do what you're doing. And so cinnamon, we have 3 kinds of it in there, 2 kinds of the bark, and then we have a food grade pure cinnamon oil that's used partly to round out some of the wonderful flavor. But it also has some of its volatile oils that are also other compounds that work in different ways and are necessary and helpful to us. So again, fats in the blood, so often, I'm always amazed at how many things that help sugars in the blood often help fats in the blood be in a healthier state. And cinnamon's that way as well. There's a couple studies that show that. And here is the little secret of what we have. We have 2 different kinds of bark, one that's concentrated to a 20% concentrate, so it's an elevated concentrate of these wonderful compounds in cinnamon. Another one is 4 times concentrated, all of it. Why do we do that? Because we're all different. And sometimes the one way will work better for people, and other times the other way will work better for people. We don't know all the reasons. We're still learning. But we do know that a good whole concentrates like this in different varieties, they all make a difference, and they bring more of a therapeutic nutrition level that when we can blend them in, more people have that health improving experience. On the aromatic point there, one of the reasons that really made us decide to add cinnamon here was a study about locomotor function and volatile oils, including cinnamon. And cinnamon and mint ranked the two highest of all of olive oils in that particular study. I can't remember how many they had, 10 or 12 of the oils known to bring alertness, focus, improve mental state, and nervous system function. So like nerve signals to muscles, etc. And cinnamon scored the highest, right? In fact, it was just neck and neck with the other one. But in the case of cinnamon, it's a warming blend, and the other is a kind of a cooling. So we chose a warming formula here with CinnaMate. And there's, to me, that's where kind of hugging a mug comes, is probably from that. Well, there we go. Cinnamon aroma administered either retronasally or orthonasally improved scores on tasks related to attentional process, virtual recognition memory, working memory, visual motor response speed. That one of the studies was driving with intense fatigue. So lots of studies with cinnamon in the North American Journal of Psychology. This is what Dr. Allison brought. And finally, Debbie mentions this, but there is some honey powder to round out CinnaMate. And there are no, as you know, we don't add sugars to anything. We do have a couple of products where we have some honey powder in it. And we didn't know this when we added it, but there were some very interesting studies combining honey and cinnamon, helping the body kind of right size metabolism, metabolic processes, and the body finds its healthy natural weight. So people use it with weight loss when that's what they're looking for. So jumping off of cinnamon now, we go to another one of my very favorite. I had, and before working with Debbie, I probably had 10 or 15 years experience using this, because I discovered very simply that after lunch, being hypoglycemic, if I ate nopal cactus, I did not have the mid-afternoon lull, the mid-afternoon dip, being tired, being this, it stopped. I kind of knew why, but once we began to formulate CinnaMate, I learned it was an adaptogen. I did not know nopal was an adaptogen back then. And Dr. Mary Fernandez showed the world why. She did the studies to show it has compounds that raise the sugar in blood for people that are low. It has other compounds that lower it for people that are too high. Not only that, I think I've got a slide here. It is full of a number of amino acids, vitamins A, C, many other compounds. I need to put the number on this slide because I was looking it up the other day. It's over 100 vitamins, minerals, etc. It's actually quite nutritious, a lot more than people realize. There's a good reason it's on a lot of Southwest dishes. It's not just a palate cleaner. It's a major nutritional boost. There was a study comparing just vitamin C to nopal with oxidative stress on cell walls, and the nopal was actually shown to be more effective. And that's not surprising because it has so much else besides just being high in vitamin C. It has all the other factors, including the fact that it's an adaptogen. So we love nopal. There's a good amount of nopal in here. It is an extract, it is a concentrate. Here's a study in Italy where they showed how it protects against ulcers. So part of hopefully every single product that we have at Soul, it's about normalizing and bringing balance through different means, complementary herbs that help with other objectives with a formula, and elements in it that help the body rebuild. We talk about that a lot. We want the formulas to be where someone over time in 2 years and in 5 years goes, you know something, I've noticed this has even gotten better. Maybe it got better early on but over time, they are supposed to be formulas that slowly build over time because they have just dense nutrition and a lot of protective qualities like nopal cactus for the digestive tract. And here's the name, if you're looking, it's Maria L. Fernandez, Dr. Maria L. Fernandez. I think sometimes she goes by Mary or gets published, the English version of her name. I think she was from San Francisco, but here's another one of her, or not San Francisco, San Diego. Here's another one of her studies in the Journal of Nutrition, looking at, here we go, blood, fats in the blood again. So I don't know that we always think about that with CinnaMate, but it's a really good one. Sugars and problems with oxidized fats in the blood as well, and plaques. Big drop in the bad fats when nopal cactus is used. Almost 30, almost one, well, more than a fourth, right? And I'm not sure how long this study was. They're usually just a couple of months. And here's another study talking about the immune effects of nopal. And honestly, this one I can't remember. I just noticed. I haven't used this in other ones. But you could, probably several of you who are on here, I'm looking at you, you've been in this industry, you probably could tell me, talk to me about leukocyte migration. But that was the focus of this particular study. Now we go to the fourth one, and it's bonoboleaf. Bonoboleaf has been studied a lot too for blood sugar management. And that's what people think of it as. There's a certain level when you get a good quality bonoboleaf, it's about 1% corosolic acid, which is the substance. So then what do? We get all excited, we pull that out, we just sell corosolic acid. Well, hopefully I can show you today why it's better to sell the whole leaf. We do believe in standardizing it. So our extract is standardized to make sure it at least has that amount so that it's a potent bonoboleaf and not one that's just a cheaper powder. But look what else is in bonoboleaf. Okay, here we go. This is sort of the study of diabetes, people with type 2, how it reduced it by a third, almost a third, their blood and their serum glucose. That was Dr. William Judy in a 2003 published. And here's a study, same thing from Dr. Judy about weight loss when this was added to the diet. But this is what I meant to say, and I need to get you the number 2. It has many essential amino acids. It has many other compounds besides just the corosolic acid that manages your blood sugar. So you want all of this. You don't want to just pull something out because all of this, the body needs. I have a personal opinion that when we get imbalances, they get really severe, right, to where blood sugar, it's noticeable in our lifestyle. There needs to be some repair, some tissue and cellular repair. Body needs amino acids and other things to do it, and enzymes. A chance, like a rest state, not being on high alert all the time, something to help us manage mood. Like one of my friends said, turning off the war in my head. Part of what CinnaMate does is that. I know more, a small group of people, they drink a mug of CinnaMate to sleep. Now, we don't tell people when they're new because then they get mad at us. They stay up and they work or paint or do whatever they do all night, but you get to know yourself. And it's the same thing with Renew, which is the calming drink. You can find out different times in your life, depending on what's going on, a different time of day can make a very big difference in what healing is going on. And so you can play with that. They had their reasons, those who took this. And I believe in their case, knowing them, this calmed all of that mental firing, okay? Even though, because it gave it all, it was so depleted, it gave it energy, the brain's, okay, I'm good again. And they could just think straight, focus, relax, and sleep. Kind of interesting. So that's because I believe of all the other nutrients. This isn't a stimulant product at all. It's just packed nutrition with things that lift us and give us energy. And the final herb, we can't underrate it. Again, looking at several of you here listening today, I think you could talk to me for probably a half hour just on thyme. All the benefits you've seen over the years using thyme to help people. It does have strong antimicrobial properties because of some of the essential oils that are in it. And so it's a great immune system. Does have flavonoids. It also shows a lot of activity toward any kind of lung irritation, respiratory irritation. That's another benefit of CinnaMate that we don't always talk about. And some studies with thyme have shown that it can interfere with the formation of candida. So in fact, 2 of the ingredients in CinnaMate do that. And so again, that's always a problem. That's part of our system, our ecosystem. We have to maintain them in proper balances. And so it helps with that. It's definitely a tonic, and it does aid in digestion, stimulates digestion, very high in chromium, a necessary component for a healthy pancreas, and used for discomfort and inflammation as well. Historically, there's some other, that's a summary statement from some other studies. So CinnaMate is really, really central to those core processes that make all the difference in the world, to how our cells get energy and how our brain gets energy and can function, in a more focused and regular way. All right, Deb, back to you.
Thanks so much, Greg. I really appreciate that. It's a wonderful, wonderful presentation. I think there's so much still that we can learn about these products, which brings me to a quick little point. If you're not planning on going to convention, I strongly urge you to, because Greg will be doing a new presentation on our 4 foundational drinks at convention. And so I'm excited to learn more about all 4 of our drinks. I hope that this week you could see that CinnaMate is essential to the body trying to find balance. I think so many times we look at our drinks and think, oh, CinnaMate is just for lifting, just for energy, and Renew is just for this, and Excel just only does that. And they really don't, because as you know, most adaptogenic herbs, as a matter of fact, all adaptogenic herbs will do many things, right, for our bodies. And so when we look at this packet number 3, the primary or initial balance, primary balance, you can see why CinnaMate is so essential to that first month of 4 months of healing. Because there's only really 4 things that keep us sick. And one of them is our bodies being out of balance. And so CinnaMate really can help, along with the other 3 foundational drinks, to help bring our body back to balance. You'll see that it is a healing formula. You see that it is an energizing formula. You see that it is a digestive formula. You can also see how it supports the central nervous system in focusing our thoughts and our patterns. I really love that, because in yesterday's webinar in Spanish, Greg mentioned one of our soul elites who struggled for a long time in school, and teachers would tell her, she was just a bad kid. Back then, people didn't know about ADHD. Said, she had no discipline. She had no this, she had no that. And add to that, what she said were the voices, the many things in her head quieted the noise in her head, because she also had so much energy and so many thoughts that she wanted to share and really couldn't articulate how to do it. And she said it wasn't until she started using the CinnaMate product, because she also started early in the company, like Chris did, like I did, when we only had the 2 drinks, when we only had CinnaMate and Vital. And she said that it really just calmed all the noise, or that war that she was feeling in her brain.
Her
right,
exact
Greg?
quote was, "It stopped the war in my brain." That was her exact quote.
I think that's so powerful. That's such a powerful statement. And I love that this product is so balanced. It's safe to use with children over the age of 1. And the only reason I say over the age of 1 is because Greg explained the product has honey powder. And so children's little digestive systems aren't ready for honey until after they are a year old, even though it's honey powder. Okay, so keep that in mind. The product is extremely safe to use for all children. As a matter of fact, because yerba mate is so substantially nutritive and dense, the governments in Argentina and Uruguay and Paraguay have actually started recommending the use of yerba mate for young children, for prevention, for supplementation, and adding vitamins and nutrition to their diets. And so you can see that this product is essential to everyone, because the body is always looking for homeostasis. The body is always looking for balance. What I love the most about this product is that you can, yes, I have been known when my body is a little out of whack, or I have a lot of things to do, I have really taken CinnaMate at nighttime. I start my day with 2 packets of CinnaMate. I usually do 2 bottles of the Soul Balm during the day. This is 64 ounces. So I generally drink close to, 120 some odd ounces of fluid during the day, but most of it is got my soul nutrition in it. It really keeps me focused. It really keeps me balanced. I sleep super well at night, But on those nights when I have a lot of translation or a lot of things to do, I have been known to take CinnaMate at night, work until the candle burns at both ends, but then I sleep really well after I do it. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I thank you, Greg, because now we're just going to go into our last section that I will talk about. And I know we're running really short on time. I was going to show you a video, but I promise I will send the video to you via the WhatsApp or the text chat thread. Okay, so that through the messages or through WhatsApp. And if you are one of those who likes to get it via email, I will send it to you that way as well. But I had Lydia record something for me today on a healing crisis. And most of you know I hate the sound of my voice and really detest seeing my face on a camera. So that's why I don't do additional videos aside from the webinars. But I wanted to just say quickly, when we are using a health program, much like our 4-month to better health, right? It is a system, it is a program. Most people, as we talked about today, are in extreme lack of good nutrition. They eat a lot, but not what they eat is not good for them, right? I mean, potato chips are not good. 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day is not good for you, and all these things. So, right, we know people lack in nutrition. We know that everyone today, especially in this day and age where we're going on year 2 of the pandemic, stress affects us, right? And that really changes our lifestyle. And so when we have all of these factors coming into our life and we start using a program like the 4-month Improve Your Health program, some people will feel immediately well and feel a burst of energy and say, I'm feeling awesome. And then 2 months into the program, they start feeling pain, or they start feeling headaches, or they start feeling nauseated, or they feel a lack of energy and feel like they've got the flu. Well, guess what that is? Your body for many, many years has been dealing with the fact that we haven't been feeding it properly, that we go, right? We all know those people who are workaholics. They burn out their adrenal glands. They have no idea what's going on in their bodies, but they keep pushing through the pain, right? Pain exists to help your body slow down and say, hey, wait a minute, something's going on. Okay, but people who ignore that pain and keep pushing, they know that they have a deadline to meet and they have to meet it. This causes our body to overcompensate, right? So we have compensation for bad situations. And then we have our body struggling emotionally, right? So many of us have struggled with trauma in our youth, be it physical trauma, you had an accident, you were running, you fell, it was traumatic as a child, or you suffered abuse, right? Some kind of emotional abuse or physical abuse or sexual abuse. Your body, your brain is so smart, it protects you from some of the ravaging effects of these traumas and these diseases. I remember once hearing a person say to me, your sister's MS is her way of coping with a nervous problem that she had as a youth. And I thought, that really didn't ring a bell or sound any alarms to me until I started learning about adaptogenic herbs. And so this is what brought me to talk about a healing crisis. What is a healing crisis? Joanne, you could say this better than I can. A healing crisis is nothing more than your body saying, I feel so good, and I have been hiding or suppressing this pain, this physical pain, this emotional pain, this autoimmune disease that I developed. I've been suppressing this for a long time. But guess what? Now you're giving me what my body needs. And now the body says, okay, because we know if we've had some kind of trauma, whatever it is, sickness, emotional, physical, all of these traumas affect certain organs or systems in our body, right? When you have trauma, you have fear. When you have fear, you have grief or sorrow. And sometimes you even have anger, right? Associated with the trauma or with the pain or with the disease. What happens? If you have a lot of anger that you've suppressed, you're starting to stagnate your liver, right? If you're one of those people who pushes through the pain, pushes through the pain, pushes through the stress, now you are hurting your endocrine system, mostly your adrenal glands, right? That just really messes up your immune system, right? It messes up your spleen. If you're one of those people who feels that nervous tension, you may be injuring your intestinal system, right? You start to belch, you start to have diarrhea, you may have constipation, you feel gassy, you feel bloated. Most people don't associate that with emotional or physical trauma that we have been suppressing for years. So now you're feeding your body, it feels really great. And now your body and your brain say together, because they work together, say, it is now safe for you to process those emotions. And your body starts to exhibit symptoms that you were originally trying to get rid of with this program. Right? So you might feel really great. The first 4 months you did it, it was wonderful. You didn't have a healing crisis. Your body is still absorbing good nutrition and doing with it what it needs to do. But eventually we all suffer what we call a healing crisis. So in traditional medicine, it says that when you are pushing through a medicine that is helping you, you might feel really good, or you might feel super, super bad. That's the doctor saying you're going to go through a healing crisis. Same thing happens in natural health. Okay. So it's nothing to be afraid of or ashamed of. If you are going through the program and all of a sudden you start feeling aches and pains, or you start getting headaches, or you start feeling nauseated, or you start feeling sad, that's why we include the roll-on oils with the products, right? So every month we use a roll-on oil with a certain program to get through the 4-month program, so that we can actually ease our brains and bodies into releasing these repressed or hidden emotions that we have felt as a result of disease or emotional trauma or physical trauma. And it happens in reverse order. If what brought you to a health specialist, if I went to Joanne and said, Joanne, I need help because I have always got these headaches. They're migraines now. They're just killing me. Well, Joanne could say, hey, take some milk thistle because that's going to ease those headaches, right? It's going to help your liver. But she doesn't give them a lot of details and says, oh, this is what, and maybe she does. I'm sorry, Joanne, if I misspoke. But, most people don't associate the headaches with the liver misfunction, right? But they start feeling better. And then as they feel better and they start helping other organs, guess what? Those organs also have to release the toxicity that has built up over the years, and that causes that pain or that belching or causes the other problems. And you remember last week, Gwen shared a testimonial that I thought was fantastic, because she said that she felt that the product helped her stop belching. Well, she didn't make that connection between the burping and the nervous digestive system that she had because of some trauma that she was dealing with at her job. And so we see that the body tries to protect you from what's going on and says, okay, hold on to this for a little bit. And when you're ready, we're going to release it. And once it starts releasing, that could be the healing crisis. How long does a healing crisis last? It can go 3 days, 5 days, a week, 5 months for some people. It can go long, right? Depending on how long they have been battling with suppressing things. I will tell you, without giving details in my life, that in 8.5 years that I have been using Soul products, I have a healing crisis at least 3 times a year, at least, because my body is still learning to release. I remembered an experience that I had as a young child that haunted me all of my life and never knew how to face it or deal with the pain or the shame that it caused me up until 2 months ago. I again saw that I was feeling congestion in my lungs. Grief and sorrow is harbored in the lungs, and I couldn't figure out why I felt like I had a cold, why I sounded like I had the flu. I didn't have any. It was a healing crisis. Okay, so you may feel a fever. You may feel like you have the flu. You may feel aches and pains in your joints. You may feel sorrow. You may feel many things. And this program will help you get through it. We just have to push through the program. Okay, I never tell someone to stop using the products because they're going through a healing crisis, because that's repressing things again, right? It's not allowing the body to get rid of them. So if we use the products and we drink plenty of fluids, we know, we heard Dr. Allison speak this week about the importance of hydration and how hydration helps rid the body of toxins. It will help get rid of those toxic emotions that we have repressed that are harbored deep in our body tissue. Okay, and I know that Veronica shared a beautiful testimonial about 3 weeks ago where she talked about how emotions affected her health. Healing crises will go in inverse direction. So it goes from the top to the bottom. So you will feel headaches, and then it might move to the lungs, and then it might move to the digestive tract where people will feel diarrhea or constipation, or they might feel swelling in the legs and the ankles, right? Those aches and pains in the joints. It will go from the inside out. Okay, so from up to down, inside out, and in reverse order that the symptoms appeared in your body. If the very last thing was the thing that took you to a health professional, say a headache or joint pains, the healing crisis is going to show up exactly that way. Okay, so it will take you to something that you have had or felt before. I will share with you the video that Lydia so kindly did that we didn't have a chance to watch today. I will share that with you. Please, please, please keep sharing soul. Please continue to use the product. Our body will always need balance. We will always be looking for things to help the body cope. Why? Because the situation around us changes daily, right? And those things do affect our health. I love you all dearly. I thank you for joining me every week. I thank you for being part of this soul journey. I thank you for using the products with as much faith and sharing them with as much joy as you each do. You're an amazing part of my life. I love you all. We will see you next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you for always, always, always being with us.